So what is marvellous is when film can express something which isn't there, but is the subtext. And the most marvellous thing about images is that you are not interpreting them with verbal constructs. You interpret images as a much more emotional, interpretive, richer, more complex, less categorized thought processes. Because we don't know really how to think about what we see. We really know how to think about things that are verbal and have a vocabulary and are therefore structured by the nature of your language. And the one thing I love about film is it's not linguistic. Sure, sound is terribly important, what I say is terribly important, but also what is terribly important is the way I'm speaking, the way I'm using my hands, the way my body is acting. That's what I love about cameras. And I can't remember where I came at this from and why I got into this discussion.
Well, it leads me...
Yes, it was because of what these people who are doing what you're doing, applied anthropology, ethnographic filmmaking for commercial motivations, what fascinates them. Now you're talking about what you want is something naturalistic. But what I noticed was what really interested them was the non-naturalistic moments, when there was some artificial tension happening.
How long ago was this?
Weeks.
Because...
I mean, weeks, but more than a month.
You'll be amazed at how many of my clients, and we have to watch out for this, will actually pinpoint, oh, she's obviously acting up in front of the camera. Clients have become so sensitized to what they perceive as being naturalistic versus what is not naturalistic.
Yes.
And so...
But then it's not naturalistic. That carries hugely important messages. And the minute it becomes not naturalistic, it becomes highly readable and becomes highly meaningful. But then what is the meaning for that? Why are they not being naturalistic? What's going on inside their psyche? What are they hiding? Therefore, they're being unnatural. And those are the points when any audience, viewer, or what you would call a client, gets into thinking mode. Something is happening here, significant, and therefore they're interpreting. Now, I often think the skill of the filmmaker is finding those moments, because they become readable and interpretive. It's not just watching wallpaper drying any longer, or watching paint drying any longer. Something interesting is happening here. It's a moment of tension, and the audience will pick up and start making interpretations, because something's gone wrong. You drive your car along, you don't even think about its operation until something goes wrong with it. And it goes into an unnatural mode. Then you start becoming aware of your car, you start reading your car, you start interpreting your car, you start thinking, what's that funny little rattle coming from? To me as a filmmaker, and now I'm talking as somebody who's trying to entertain the masses and get the masses thinking, rather than necessarily working in an anthropological observational fly-on-the-wall mode, those are the moments which, as a film director, you are actually trying to engineer them to make your film interesting. Now you get into this whole question which you started off with. What's the difference between anthropological ethnographic filmmaking and filmmaking? I mean, I worked in television. As a television film producer director, my whole thing was to entertain the audience. You inform through entertaining. If you don't stir and stimulate your audience, they don't think. They're not. The minute your brain is set up to new ideas, you're reading things, you're involved and making interpretations, the film becomes a better film. I'm fascinated your clients want to watch wallpaper, want to watch paint drying.
Well, this is the thing, because paint drying is 90% of reality.
Yes,
because
Andy Warhol thought that too.
Well, that's a yes. What we talk about, I used to have a boss many years ago when I worked at the Hellenius Centre. He used to say, if it's really, really interesting, in any piece of research, if it's really, really interesting, probably ain't true. And if it's true, it won't be that interesting.
But then take Jean Rouch, who believed in some of his films, you know, that a film, he was working on film, so he only had 400 feet of film in his camera, so he only had 11 minutes in one take. But his ideal at one period in his life was to make the whole film on one reel of film. And don't stop, start, just watch.
Yes.
Action naturalistically.
But that's why the interpretation comes in, is adding meaning to that. If you show anything slightly out of the ordinary in any given piece of film, that's going to be the first criticism, is we are interested in general mass behavior. We don't want things out of the ordinary.
But then do you always film convenient working height? Do you take low angles? Do you take high angles?
Yes.
Do you think of composition and framing?
Absolutely.
Then it's not natural.
No.
Because that is an act of interpretation and putting meaning on it. If you film me from above, you're looking down on me, you're making me look small. If you film me, you've got about sort of 3 degrees looking up to me here, you're giving me a little bit of respect. Pop it down another 10 inches, you're giving me more respect, and you're putting me high in frame. And you're totally changing the way the audience are going to appreciate my image.
True. Absolutely.